Namaste and a warm welcome to all our friends who have joined us this evening for a new series that we are starting, that is the Integral Well-Being series. So starting from today onwards, we'll be going through one whole series of lectures which will be looking into well-being from the yogic and the related perspectives. And as the opening speaker for this session, we have with us Dr. Yatendra Dutt Amoli ji. Dr. Yatendra Dutt Amoli ji, welcome to you. I'd like to introduce you briefly to all our participants. Dr. Yatendra ji is currently the Assistant Professor of Yoga at Dev Sanskriti University in Haridwar. Dev Sanskriti University is one of the foremost universities in the field of yoga. Before that, he was nearly for 5 years in China teaching at the India-China Yoga College. India-China Yoga College is a joint venture of Indian and Chinese state to bring in yogic teaching, authentic yogic teachings from India to China. And he was one of the first teachers at this college there. He's a well-known scholar in the field of yoga, tantra, and related aspects. He has also written many books, translated a couple of books, and working on a few translations. And while in China, he had the opportunity of interacting with many Taoist scholars, and that has allowed him a lot of insight into this field to explore how these two traditions, these two philosophies, these two practices meet and interact with each other. And this is what we'll be exploring today in this session on yogic insight into Taoist tradition and practices. With this, I request Yatendra ji to continue from this point onwards. Thank you.
Then my attention turned towards mostly the Chinese, means the Taoist practitioners there, because I saw there were some similarities. Whenever I was watching them, I was seeing their practices, observing their things there. Then I found that there are many similarities in between yoga and the Taoist culture, in Taoist practices. And then I started my investigations through books, the books which were available in that time, because most of the books were available in their own language, in Chinese. And this is the main drawback of the Chinese culture, that most of the books, most of the traditional books are in Chinese. So we cannot go more in advance, or we cannot go in more deep seriously because of this language problem. And even if we are foreigners and even we are knowing their language, but we cannot go more in deep of their understanding because the culture or many things are different, and the way of dealing with the language is also different. So that's why it's not a simple language. It's a very complicated language, as most of the people that Chinese is the most difficult language in the world. So in this way, we can see that not only the pictograph or the characters are difficult, but also their ways, their expressions are also very difficult to understand from a foreigner's point of view. Now we see that we start our talk from here, that whenever we are saying Chinese philosophy, actually we means that we are talking about the Taoist philosophy or Taoist thought. But actually, when I have communicated with many scholars there, many practitioners there, and then I found that actually Chinese don't have philosophy. Means just like the Indian philosophy, they don't have Chinese philosophy. They have thoughts, and based on their thoughts, they are developing their culture. They are developing their civilization since the time when it all started. So we can see that actually when we are saying philosophy, so we have concepts, we have practices, we have fundamentals of that philosophy, that particular philosophy. But when we are talking about the Chinese philosophy, actually they don't have this systematization of their ideas. They only have several thoughts, and sometimes the thoughts are contradicting each other's. So we can say that there is a collection of thoughts, and based on those collection of thoughts, they have their own practices. They develop their own practices. Same like the Taoist practices and Taoist tradition. So that's why mostly they are speaking in this way, that we have Taoist culture, Taoist tradition, or Taoist practices. They are not speaking that we have Taoist philosophy. This is a very interesting thing there. But most of the people, means foreigners, are recognizing it as a Taoist philosophy. But actually, Taoist is not a philosophy. It's a tradition. It's a practice. It can be said as a culture in this way. Technically, it can be said in this way. We have seen, if we are going in the history, so we have seen that, because most of the people, that Lao Tzu was the one who founded this tradition, who founded these approaches. And it was, his time period was also not settled. Since their history, we can see that no one has given the exact time period of Lao Tzu, because some scholars are suggesting that he was contemporary of Confucius, and some scholars are suggesting that he was since his time period from the 6th century BC to 4th century BC. It's a very long gap. And even though many scholars, they are suggesting that he never died, he was immortal. So there are many stories, many passages in historical books, in ancient books in China, so where we can see that his time period is never decided, never fixed. So it is very difficult. Same like we have Patanjali's time period, and there are many confusions among the scholars about the time period, exact time period of Patanjali. So in the same way, we see, I'm not going to compare it to the Patanjali, but here we can see that when we are talking about Lao Tzu, so there is no fixed date of Lao Tzu in the history of China. There is no historical documentation or historical evidences on the basis of which we can say that he was living in this time period. So most of these scholars are suggesting and conscious about 6th to 4th century BC. And there we see that later on, a very great historian, Sima Qian, so he wrote several books. He wrote several historical ideas, uh, historical books uh, describing about the history of the many kingdoms, many rulers in China. And in his historical books, he mentioned something about Lao Tzu and Lao Tzu's teaching to the people in that time. So actually, the idea of Tao, when speaking Tao, given by Lao Tzu in his books, and this is also very interesting thing, that whenever we are speaking that is there any book which is written by Lao Tzu, actually there is no book written by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu has given some teachings to his students, and his most close disciples, most close students were talking about the talking about the uh, his teachings. So in this way, we can see that the categorization, the description of his teachings are available by his disciples. His disciples compiled his teachings and handed down that those things to the traditional learners or seekers in that time. So in this way, we see there is a book, Tao Te Ching, and that is actually the direct conversation of Lao Tzu to his disciple. He was directly communicating to his disciple, and the way of Tao means whenever we are translating Tao Te Ching, so Tao Te Ching means it is the way of Tao. So what is Tao here? And very interesting thing is when we are talking about the meaning of Tao, so actually there is no exact meaning of Tao. We can say Tao can be defined in many ways. We can say Tao as the source of all existence in this world, in this cosmos. We can say Tao as a way of life. We can say the Tao as a way of seeing the things or observing the things is also Tao. And we can also say that the primordial principle of this universe is also Tao. So in this way, they are defining Tao in Tao Te Ching, that whenever they are using this word Tao, so Tao means that something which is beyond any principle in this world, and every principle in this world is coming out from that principle, that is Tao. As for example, when we are talking about the Brahma in the Vedanta philosophy, so everything coming out from the Brahma, manifesting, not coming out, but manifesting by the Brahm. So that manifestation of the entire word from Brahm. In the same way, they are defining, they are explaining Tao. That Tao is also the same principle, means not speaking in this way, but we can see that their narration, their explanations are going in the same way as we are explaining the ultimate consciousness or Brahm in our Vedantic philosophy, in Upanishadic philosophy. So in this way, we can see, even I got the translation, English translation of Tao Te Ching, but English translation was not proper, because whenever I was communicating to the Chinese scholars, they were saying that we cannot translate it. We cannot, even after living in Tao, even living in this tradition for many years, we cannot exactly find the exact translation of Tao Te Ching. So actually, Tao Te Ching is written in a very poetic style, and there are many practices written there. Many ideas, hidden ideas are there. And we can say it, if we want to compare it to our Indian culture or Indian literature, we can say it that it is written in a sutra style. Very brief statements are there. And on the basis of those brief statements, we can deduct so many practices, we can deduct so many ideas, we can deduct so many concepts or fundamentals, we can deduct from there. So one of the idea which I would like to share here, and which is very close to the yoga, that is Tien Ran Khai. So they are saying that the idea of ultimate consciousness reflecting in the form of multiplicity of the individual consciousness, means the same idea as we are observing in our yoga philosophy, and also we are observing in our Upanishadic or Vedantic philosophy, that we are considering there is a ultimate consciousness, and that ultimate consciousness is reflecting in the form of individual consciousness. The same idea is explained in this term Tien Ran Khai. And that's why the practices, means the practices are a little bit different from our yogic practices, because when they are saying that we want to join that ultimate consciousness, we are the part of that ultimate consciousness. So in this way, when they start their practice, so they start their practice from the body. They are visualizing the body and trying to connect the body to their surrounding. So whatever is in the surrounding nature, rivers, forests, mountains, and they are trying to connect with the mountains. They are trying to connect with the rivers. They are trying to connect with the forest. And in this way, they are saying that if we are well connected, well receiving the energies from our surrounding, from the forest, from the rivers, from the from the mountains, then in this way we can develop our consciousness, we can develop our awareness, and through this awareness we can uplift ourselves. Even they are speaking in this way in their text, they are speaking in this way, that we can get the immortality. So because from long time, from their history, they are seeking also the immortality. And in this way, they are talking. And that's why most of the preachers, or we can say the teachers after Laozi, they all were considered as immortals. So there are the set of 8 immortals. They are speaking in this way that after Laozi, there were 8 teachers. Those are considered as the immortal teachers, means they are living in this world. And whosoever seek their guideline, whosoever is seriously seeking the path of Tao, then they can get guideline from them. So in this way, their practices are going on. And I found this similarity to the Hatha yogic tradition also, because in Hatha Yogic tradition, we also have the Nath Yogis. Many Nath Yogis, those are still considered as immortals. Nath Yogi, immortal Nath Yogis. And is still in our ancient Hatha Yogic text, means in the commentaries, in the Hatha Yogic text, we can find that easily that the the practitioner, the serious practitioners, those are seeking the path of yoga, they can get guideline from those Nath Yogis, from those Hatha Yogis. Those are they are immortals. Later on, we see that the same categorizations are there, just like that we are combining the system of yoga to the Ayurveda and some kind of physical sciences in India. We are combining all these things together, and we are making it as a comprehensive system of health, system of well-being. In this way, we are describing. In the same way, we can see that when they are talking about Tao, the tradition, Taoist tradition, they are also having this idea that they have their system of medicine. That system of medicine is also included in Taoism, that we are popularly known as Chinese traditional medicines, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or Chinese traditional medicine. In this way, they have this branch of study, which is called Huangdi Neqin. So in Huangdi Neqin is the main source book of the Chinese traditional medicines. And not only the traditional medicine, but also there are some internal medicine. They have a section of internal medicine, and that internal medicine section is dealing with some mystical things, mystical ideas. Just like that, after eating some kind of medicine, one can get some subtle experiences in meditation. Such kind of things are described there. So these ideas are very close to our Ayurveda. Same like if we have a system of medicine, or a system in the Ayurveda, in the Ashtanga Ayurveda, we have a branch where we can see that there are many ideas, many kind of medicines, which we are saying that these are occult medicine. Even in the Atharva Veda, we have these kind of ideas. So we can see. But in Huangdi Neqin, same like the Ayurveda, there are many source book of Ayurveda nowadays. We don't have. There are some branches of Ayurveda already lost. So in the same way, we see that Huangdi Neqin, the source book of traditional Chinese medicine, is also like this. That whenever we are talking about that system, they have three branches. Three branches, and in those three branches in their system of medicine, two branches are partially surviving. We cannot say that fully surviving, but partially surviving. A part of those two branches is already lost. So only one branch, which is called Su Wen, is nowadays available. But Mingtang and Tai Su, these two branches are completely lost. And they are saying, because I interacted with many Taoist scholars there and the practitioners there, they were speaking that actually these in these branches, it is said that in these branches there were some methods to get the immortality, to get the some subtle experiences of the body. Even they can travel, I mean they can imagine to go astral travel. For astral travel, they have some ideas like this. So in this way, we see that the part which is now it is surviving is the part which we are physically observing, and we are getting the physical benefit from that part. And the part which they are depicting and partially surviving, we can only have a glimpses of the ideas hidden there, that there were, we can say, there were some passages, there were some kind of treatment methods, or there were some kind of trainings, or we can say the practices in that time, which can make a human being to the divine being, because the concept of divine being is also there in their ideology, in their system of medicine, even in their system of Taoist practices. Because whenever we are talking about Taoist practices, it doesn't mean that we are talking only about a kind of kung fu, because most of the people in the world, they are only knowing that kung fu means they is a Taoist practice. A Taoist practice is kung fu. So not only kung fu or not only Tai Chi is a, these are this is only a branch. When we are saying Kung Fu or Tai Chi, this is only a branch of Taoist practices. Taoist practices are combined with the Ayurveda, with the natural sciences, physical sciences, and then we can say the subtle anatomy, physiology is also described there. With this, social practices are also there. And then there are some physical practices, there are some meditation practices. In this way, we can categorize and we can assemble them in one system that is called Taoism, or that is called Taoist tradition. Nowadays, there is a debate in among the scholars that talking about Taoism or Taoist tradition as a practice, as a physical practice, or as a same like as a yogic practice, or as a practice of religion. But nowadays, you people may know about the religion is very sensitive issue there. So that's why they are denying. Most of these scholars are denying the establishment of Taoist tradition as a religion. No one is accepting it. But anyhow, you can see that still they don't have this religious idea, but they have a traditional idea in which we can see the concepts of well-being, human well-being there, the concepts of physical, the subtle anatomy, physiology of the body, and the practices are there. Now, I would like to put my attention on several practices. I'm going to give their brief idea, which can be, you can say that they are very similar to the yogic practices. Same like there is a practice which they call Xiaoqiu Tian. Xiaoqiu Tian is a practice. Sometimes if you are translating it, it is called as microcosmic orbit. But actually the translations in the Google or somewhere else the practices are described are very limited, because they are saying, means whenever I was communicating to the scholars or practitioners there, Taoist practitioners there, they were saying that when we are talking about the Xiaoqiu Tian or microcosmic orbit, so this practice is very secret practice. This practice cannot be taught by just writing in the book. If we are writing it in the book and then someone is getting it from the book, it is quite difficult to get the secret of this practice. And it is also advised that no one should do this practice without having a competent guidance. If you are not under a competent guidance, under a experienced teacher, so don't do these practices. If you are following the same, like in yoga also, we are strictly advising to the practitioners that if you are just following some videos, following some kind of material, written material, so it may be harmful. So you should avoid to do without attending a competent or experienced teacher. So it is also advised there that this practice should be done under a competent guidance. Now, what is the procedure? I'm giving you an idea, and that idea I tried to compare to the Swachhanda Tantra, because in the Swachhanda Tantra, 7th chapter of Swachhanda Tantra is talking about a mystical practice, a occult practice in our subtle body, that how the breath is moving in the body according to the moon phases of the moon. There are 15 phases of the moon, and according to the 15 phases of the moon, how the breath is moving, the prana is moving in the body. And according to that, there is a set of practice, a set of detailed idea there, which is given in the Swachhanda Tantra. Swachhanda Tantra basically belongs to the Kashmir Shaiva Tantra. And in that tantra there are many things, but in the 7th chapter is strictly means dealing about the some subtle pranic practices are there. So I compared this Xiaoqiu Tians to the that Swachhanda Tantra's pranayama practices. So in this Xiaoqiu Tian, how they are saying that they are assuming, and they have a very good concept. The concept is saying that the E means the wisdom. The wisdom is leading the chi. The wisdom means wisdom is leading the prana, and prana is leading to me. Prana is leading me. In this way, they have concept that wisdom is leading to prana, leading prana, and prana is leading me in this way. So you see that they are assuming, it's a mental practice, they are assuming that this body is just like a cosmos. And in this cosmos, there is a center where we can generate heat, where we can generate the spiritual heat. And that is spiritual heat, they are saying, they are speaking that that is the place which is below, four fingers below the navel. If you go 4 fingers below the navel, there is a place which they are calling Tantien. And in Tantien, they are saying that there, by assuming, by just by our mental practice, we can generate heat there. And that will become, after some time, when we are generating the heat there, we are assuming the heat there, that center will activate it. And after the activation, it will become just like a golden stove. The stove, the golden stove, the source of the energy from there. And that source of energy, if channelized in the body, properly channelized in the body, so step by step, it takes 40 days to refine, to purify the entire body. And most of the Taoist practitioners, they are following this kind of practice, that when they initiate in the Taoism, when they initiate in the Taoist tradition, they go with such kind of practice. First, they cultivate by assuming a golden stove there in Tantien, and after activating that golden stove, they try to channelize the heat in the body, and that heat can be said as chi or prana in their tradition. So in the channelization, we see that each day in the night they practice this kind of they practice it, and when they are practicing, they are also observing the phase of moon. And according to the phase of moon, they can guess that where I am now, where I am in my subtle body, and where I am channelizing it in my body. And moon has very much important in the practice, because through the moon it is nourishing, that heat is nourishing by moonlight. So that's why in the, not in the dark phase of dark phase, they start at it in the bright phase, so Shukla Paksha. So they start it in the Shukla Paksha. We call it the bright phase of moon. So in this way, there are many practices which they are doing in this way. And this is Xiaoqiutian is basically to purify, to energize, or to channelize the heat, that prana, into the body. And after channelizing, if one channelize it properly after 40 days of practice, then we can say that after this, he or she is able to do the advanced practices of the Taoist tradition. Even when they are talking about the practices like Tai Chi Chuan. So in Tai Chi Chuan, is the same practice as we are understanding it in the form of Kung Fu. So Tai Chi Chuan also, they are speaking that whenever we are doing this practice, actually we are not doing this practice to show it outside. The main the assumption, the main concept of this practice is to create, to generate the heat inside the body, and to maintain that heat in the body, to regulate that heat or that energy in the body, and try through that, trying to connect themselves to the nature, trying to connect themselves to the rivers, forest, and mountains, and receiving those energies into the body, and making a harmony in between the human being to the nature. In this way, they are talking about the Tai Chi. So after completion of that 14 days practice, they are entering into this practice of Tai Chi Chuan, or sometimes you can see them that they are moving their hands, they are moving their body is sometimes stable, only the hands are moving, or also slowly they are doing it, practicing it. You can see some videos of Tai Chi, and there you can find. And the practices are very slow, but at the same time, their mind, their consciousness is very much in deep. If they are doing it properly, then their consciousness is in very deep. And this practice can utilize in this way. They can utilize the heat in the body. They can channelize this heat into the several meridians or the psychic channels in the body, and in this way they can cultivate the potentials hidden in their body. So this is the main thing. Another concept in this Shaochutian, they are saying that actually the prana in the body is moving like water. You should assume the prana just like water. This is the another part in Shaochutian. And they are speaking that water is, because we all know that water is the softest thing in this world, but when it is dropping on the mountain, it is pouring in the mountain, going inside and penetrating in the mountain, even penetrating in the wood, but very slowly. It is not like that you are putting it on the wall, a cement or concrete wall, and then it is going directly inside. It is going very slowly inside. Then this is the softest power, that by its softness, it's overcoming the hardness. This is the main idea there. And that's why the same thing they are speaking, that we should cultivate such kind of awareness, such kind of consciousness in our body, that our body should move just like the water. Our body should get the same energy like water. So that energy we can get if we are observing, whenever we are practicing, whenever we are moving our body. At the same time, we are observing that the body is moving just like the flow of water, and the prana inside the body is also moving just like the flow of water. This they are reminding themselves again and again while they are doing their practices, while they are performing their practices. And in getting the expertise in their practices, that's why they need time. It is a lifelong journey, because I met many teachers when I was learning Tai Chi, when I was learning this kind of skills. Then I was very eager to get the skills, and then they were advising me that you are eager, but your eagerness has no meaning here, because it's a lifelong journey. You cannot get these skills or the expertise in this just by following it 2 times, 3 times, and then practicing it for 1 month and 2 months, and then you can get the expertise. It's a lifelong journey. It's whole life journey in which you will have many experiences and many subtle things you will observe in your practice. So it's same like our yogic practices, that whenever we are talking about the Hatha yogic practices too, then in Hatha yogic practices also we are speaking that this is not the 1 year, 2 years, or 5 year or 10 years practice. It's lifelong practice. Through the lifelong practices, you can cultivate something, you can experience something step by step in your course of in your journey of yoga. So in this way, we can see many ideas which are very close to the yoga. And nowadays, because people are trying to in between India and China. So that's why people there are also interested to know more about the yoga philosophy, yogic culture, and they are trying to connect it and they are trying to see it, not only connect it, but they are trying to see it from their own point of view. But the practitioners, these kind of scholars are very few there in China, because after living this much time there, I observed that there are few people. Those are really interested, those are really seeking these kind of things, so that we can make a cultural bridge, a cultural communication in between the yoga and the Tai Chi, or yoga and Taoism. So if we are talking in broad way, so we can say Taoism. But if we are talking only from the practical aspects, so very small or limited scopes, then sometimes we are talking yoga and Tai Chi. So actually yoga and Tai Chi is very limited scope to connect these two cultures. When we are talking yoga, so yoga is, you people know that yoga is very big, very broad idea. And the Tai Chi is very small idea they are taking from the Taoism. So if they really want to connect it, so the better way is that we should look yoga and Taoism together. And in this way, we can communicate many things. We can understand many things. Sometimes their Taoist practices, especially Tai Chi, is called as moving meditation. Just like that, when you are moving, you are doing meditation. We are sitting and then we are preparing for meditation, but they are preparing for the more subtle experience through some movement. So in their movements, there are many subtle things, subtle ways to connect themselves to their subtle body, to their even to their astral body. They have these concepts of subtle body, astral body, divine body. They have these concepts. So actually, we need to discover it from our own angles when we are doing our spiritual practices, from tantra, from yoga, from our Vedic background. If we are watching it, and if we are watching from this angle, then we can discover more in their practices. We can connect them more to our culture. We can connect them more to our traditional practices, and they can understand it in better way. So I would like not to speak more because so we have limited time, and then I would like to go through some questions if you people want to ask something. So I'm ready to receive your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yatendra ji, for this wonderful presentation. I'm sure we could have gone a little longer just to know this, because very few people can make this connection and bring out the details the way you were sharing. So thank you very much once again for that. So as we open up for the questions, I'm also intrigued to ask you, though I was there for a very
Yeah.
short while, but you were there nearly for 5 years, and your interaction would really be a lot with the people, with the scholars, the traditional people. So how do you see the people of the day, or the youngsters of the day, connected to this ancient tradition? Is the connection still active, or it's forgotten? How do you see it?
Actually, when we are talking about the modern generation, so modern generation people are not that much aware. Modern generation, we can say that they are in the Western influence. So that's why it is a bit serious issue nowadays in China, that they are the one side, the people are trying to preserve their culture, they are trying to revive their culture, but this responsibility is on the modern generation, that if modern generations are taking this responsibility, then it can be possible. But actually this is the unfortunate thing, that they are not doing it. Modern generation is completely influenced by the Western culture, Western things, Western influence. So that's why not looking at these things very seriously. They are knowing, definitely they are knowing all these things, but a bit they are knowing. And very few people I met there, some of my students, they are really serious about these things, and they are really practicing it, and they are learning it from the yogic point of view also. They are trying to make the comparison, or trying to make a better communication to yoga through the Taoist practices.
Okay. See, in India, when it was difficult times where it was difficult to transmit this
Yeah,
knowledge from generation to
yeah,
generation, we still had the places like Gurukulams,
yeah,
ashrams, and such learning
yeah.
spaces. Do they still have it in
They
China?
have.
We see through the movies various exotic ashrams or Shaolin
Yeah.
temples, and apart from it, how is it there practically? Do they have that Guru Shishya Parampara intact, that learning space
Yeah.
intact?
Actually, if you see that entire China is divided into in Taoist way, you can see that in Taoist tradition there are many divisions nowadays. After second century BC, they are divided into many portions. They have divided, and now we can see that if you go towards the north, they have their own tradition, and they have their own temples and own ways of learning. If you want to learn properly from that particular tradition, you have to go there, you have to stay there and live just like a gurukula life. Same like
Okay.
in Shaolin temples we see. But I visited Shaolin temple, but Shaolin temple is not that much traditional nowadays, because it's now popular for the Western seekers, and Westerners are coming there and learning so many things. But there are other places where we can see that they are traditionally teachings, masters and disciples are learning there, staying together. And there are many branches in my side where I was living in Kunming. So Yunnan have their own way of teaching. In this way, Guangdong or Guangzhou have their own way. North side or the southwest, every place have their own ways of teaching, and they have their own temples, own learning centers, traditional centers. But modern people are still not that much awakened to go go there.
Okay. And in terms of the interest, like this Indian yoga, India China Yoga College started a few years back, and there are many yoga centers.
Hmm.
How do you see the interest growing up, and what would you see the direction in which this whole interest is going towards? Is it limited to the bodily fitness, or it's helping them to discover their own roots? How do you see this interaction grow?
Actually, I also visited many centers there, communicated to many of my students. And nowadays, because after almost 5 years, 6 years, after observing all these things there, then I have seen that actually nowadays their attention is little bit diverting towards the philosophy, learning culture. And there are several institutes. Even in Beijing University, they have opened Institute of Learning Indian Culture, learning Indian philosophies. So
Okay.
in this way, and they are emphasizing more on yoga philosophy. So in this way, I have seen, but this is just happening. I left from there and I heard the news that in Beijing University, in some universities, they are going to open the Indian philosophies departments. There were there, but philosophy departments were there, but they are now emphasizing on Indian philosophy and especially on yoga philosophy.
So yoga is acting as a true bridge
Yeah,
between these
yeah, yeah.
traditions. Excellent.
Now it is.
Okay. So I think that would be a good point to take up the questions from our participants.
Yeah,
We have Sri Lokesh Sharma ji asking, what is the difference between meditation and Tai Chi? Of course, you mentioned
yeah,
Tai Chi is a moving meditation, but if you want to add a little more light on that,
yeah.
Tai Chi practice and meditation in general.
Actually, when we are talking about the moving meditation in Tai Chi, so Tai Chi have a way to going into the meditation, just like that. When we are talking, actually the way of meditation is start from the pratyahar, that when we are trying to withdraw our attention from outside and making it inward. So our meditation practice start from there. So in the same way that when we are talking about Tai Chi, so in Tai Chi, they are not doing it. They are just moving their body. And when they are moving their body, they are also doing the same, but the way is totally different. They are trying to make their mind calm first, then their senses calm, and then their body calm. And then after calming down everything step by step, then they are moving their body. So it looks like that they felt the lightness first in the body, and then they are using this apparatus just to move inside and just to harmonize with the nature in this way. So their meditational approach is quite, I can say, that is going outside, more going to outside to grasp the energy from outside. And our meditation is we are seeking the energy inside and trying to cultivate it, trying to activate it.
Hmm.
But they are trying to receive it from the outside. So that's why most of their practices are going to the outward direction.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for that insight. So moving on to next question from SV Ramananji, who is asking, can you please let us know about the interrelationship between Taoism and Confucian tradition?
Yeah, actually, there is there are some confusions because whenever we are saying that Taoism and Confucianism, and they have this idea that when they are learning it together. So we can say that Taoism for building their self, building their own self, and trying to connect with the nature. This is Taoism in simple way. And when they are saying Confucius or Confucianism, then they are talking about the social life, that how should we live in the social life, because Confucius made the social rules, the governing rules, that how should be a governance should be, good governance should be. In this way, the rules for the rulers. He taught the rulers. Lao Tse taught the only to the seekers,
People.
spiritual
Okay.
path. So that's why Taoism is a spiritual path and Confucianism is a social path. It is very distinct ideas.
So people still see the domains differently. Like this is the personal space where Taoism has its influence. There is a social space where Confucianism has its influence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same like this.
Okay. Excellent. So moving on to Reena ji's questions. Reena Raghav ji has appreciated the presentation and she has asked three questions. She says, is there an acknowledgement of Indian influence on their culture? Like Bodhi Dharma is a connection we usually hear about. Of course, there's also this famous statement that made by an ambassador earlier. It says, India influenced China without even invading it for a
Yeah.
long time. So these kinds of historical references are there, but currently does the current thinking, I mean, especially in people's mind, is there some kind of cultural connect that exists and acknowledgement?
Sure, because I have means whenever I was communicating to the people, even many people they were speaking to me. I have not got any documented reference about it, but they were saying that the people in ancient people in China, means the seekers or seers in that time, they were quite influenced by the Vedas, just like that I mentioned about the Huangdi Nechin. So Huangdi Nechin is a book which is the source book of the Chinese traditional medicine. And in that book, the scholars, I met some scholars, and they were saying that actually the meridian system is completely influenced by the system of Vedas. Means whatever we got, we got from the Vedas, maybe from Ayurveda, maybe from, because Ayurveda, the source book of Ayurveda is also very old, not only Charak Samhita, but Agnivesh Tantra, the most oldest version, and that is also very old book. So they were saying that, I mean, some scholars were speaking very less, but speaking this way, that we have got the influence from the Vedic culture, your Vedic culture, and it is written in the Huangdi Nechin that this idea we got from the Vedas. These ideas we got from the Vedas. So maybe there was some communication in that time when they were learning, but it's still in people's mind, if you are talking about the general people, not the source book or some books there, literature there, if we are directly communicating to the people, they are acknowledging it, well acknowledging it, that the ideas which we are now, it is popular in China, somehow we also learn from India, somehow we also influenced by the Indian culture.
Okay. Good to hear that.
Mm.
So the second question is there anything that you have seen that is starkly different from the Indian spirituality?
Yeah, I have seen the idea that whenever they are doing the practice, just like we are trying to calm down ourselves in our practice. For example, in meditation, we are trying to calm down. We are not moving into many kind of imaginations, but their idea is dynamic. They are going in more dynamics, and through their dynamical way, they are going into meditation. We are trying to calm down the dynamics outside, and then we are going entering inside, but they are more dynamic in this way. They never stop imaginations, because
Okay.
I attended their meditational things with the Chinese practitioners, Taoist practitioners. So they were continuously speaking, and I was thinking that they should stop speaking, because if you are communicating and creating so many imaginations, so it is just opposite to my own practices of yoga.
Hmm. And
So
also, yeah,
this
you
is the
mentioned
difference.
about here it's more coming in, there it's more going out.
More
So
going out.
images definitely are the best tools to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
out.
Yeah.
And also, what is the notion of self, like
Huh.
a perpetual self that we have in the generic Indian tradition, Indian thought? Do you find something similar there, or they don't touch upon it so much?
Actually, whenever we are talking about self, they have not defined it very clearly. Even the consciousness, the idea of consciousness, idea of awareness is there. That awareness, they can understand and they can explain it. It can be demonstrated. It can be seen. This demonstration can be seen in their practice. The idea of awareness. But when we are going more consciousness and the self, then this idea is totally I have not seen, because I ask them that do you have any idea or concept about self. Then they are saying that how to speak self means in Chinese also. So when they are speaking about self, so they are just speaking about this self, to
Okay.
which we are saying ignorant self. So their idea is about body, their idea is about the senses, or their idea is about something which we can experience, but which is
More
beyond
material in nature.
material nature. We can say that that material idea of self, that is not the idea which we are dealing with. That idea is not there. Even the consciousness, even you ask them that what is the exact translation of consciousness, so they don't have the differentiation between the awareness and consciousness.
Okay.
They, in their terminology, in their terms, they don't have.
Interesting. Okay. So coming back to the last question of Reena ji, this is in reference to the three parts that you were mentioning earlier, no? So can you tell us the three names again? Su, Wen, and what are the other two?
Yeah. That the name is the first one is which is mostly practiced there. That is Suwan, Suwen, Suwan, and
Okay.
the second one is Ming Thang, Ming, Ming Thang, Tang, Ming Thang,
T-A-N or T-A-N-G?
T, tiger,
Yeah,
T.
T-A-N.
So they speak it Thang, Ming Thang, and then the last one is Taisu, Taisu, Taisu. So these maybe some if some Chinese students are joined here, so they will laugh because my pronunciation is not that much correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I still have a couple of questions. No, but I should really add to all our participants because learning Chinese is not easy. And Yatendra ji, I think I saw him conversing in Chinese, at least making attempts. So
Yeah.
it was a remarkable thing, I think, what you have achieved in those short period. Yeah. So moving on to Jai Gupta ji's question. Do you see any links with the chakras and movement of chi? You think as the roots of Tao is in Indian yogic culture, as Chinese have been animist historically.
Yeah.
So this idea of chakras, where the chi moves or concentrates, the meridians.
Yeah, they have very clear idea about this, because the book which I mentioned, Huang Di Nechin is talking about the chakras and the meridian, the psychic meridians in the body, is very clearly talking about. As for example, I'm talking about Tantien, and in Tantien, that area is very sensitive area regarding the flow of prana in the body, because that is the source, the center, center of the source of energy from there, disseminating in all over the body. And there are three gates. They are saying that there are three gates where the energy or prana is blocked. The one gate is in the tailbone. That is called Wei Lu. Wei
Okay.
Lu. So that Wei Lu is called that the prana is blocked there. So tailbone. So that tailbone, that area is similar to the chakra, sacral chakra, or kundal, means the Muladhara chakra. So we
I
can
was
say
wondering, huh?
because I was trying to compare their locations according to their description whenever they were describing it. So I was trying to get the location, the proper location. The second one is Ming Man. Mingmen is near the kidney, the backside of the kidney. We can say it is we can say that is navel chakra, that Manipur or Swadhisthana, in between the Manipur and Swadhisthana,
Radhishthana.
that area. So that area is the another gate where the prana is blocked. And the last one is pai pai hu. Pai hui is the top head, top of the head. Pai hui. So these are the three gates where the prana is blocked. Beside this, they are also talking about the ranmay, chomay, means the we can say the sushumna. We can compare to the sushumna.
Okay.
That sushumna is in the mid of the body, in the subtle body, and chome, ranme, and many sushumna, ida, pingla, sushumna. These names are a little bit different than us, and the locations are also a little bit different. Even though I was talking to a Taoist practitioner, he was speaking in this way that the Indians have less nadis in the body, and we Chinese have more nadis in the body. Then
Okay.
I was asking him that, have you counted the Indians nadis in the body? Have you ever heard that how many nadis we have in the body? Then he said, yes, I heard that Indians have the nadis in the body, and they are talking about several thousand of nadis in the body, but we have counted. In China, we have counted. I say
Okay.
maybe the assumption is different. You have only seen the 14 nadis described in the Hatha Yogic text or somewhere else. Maybe you have get the name of those nadis. But actually, we have not only the names to those 14 nadis, but we have also the names of many nadis in the body. So you should have to, means you should go through that kind of material, and then you can compare. And then I supplied that material to him. And then he was comparing, and he shown me the entire nadi body, means the subtle body. The psychic channels are in the body. So they have these kundalini, but the location of the kundalini, the chakras location, is little bit different than our locations, which we are locating in our body. Another interesting thing which I would like to add here little bit, that they are also connecting the mind to the entire body, just like the kidney, liver, heart, lungs. These are very important organs in the body, and they are speaking, for example, they are speaking, if you have emotional problem, then this is from your heart. Your heart is not functioning very well. If you have memory, thought related problem, you cannot sleep well, then this is from liver. Liver is not functioning well.
Okay.
Kidney have, in this way they are describing, and they are giving a kind of treatment, a practice, that so that to make a harmony in between, the liver get energy from kidney, kidney getting energy from heart, heart getting energy from lungs. In this way they are connecting it. So they have their own subtle way of channelizing the energy in the body, and making the harmony in between the internal organs, like this.
So very actively connected with the material aspects.
Yeah, yeah, material aspects.
Okay. 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 Great.
Mostly you can see their description is going towards the material aspects.
Okay. Fine. So I have just a couple of more. I mean, the list is growing as we are discussing. So I'll take at least two questions. This is from Anuradha ji, who's asked two questions. One is that she has attended a Qigong session where she has been told that the meridians, they cross near the Murdha point, the Murdha that we are familiar with, Etta, Tha, Da, Dha, that whole series
Yeah,
comes. Yeah.
yeah.
So any thoughts on that? You want to elaborate a little further on that?
Actually, they have also a concept in Qigong. Also, they have a concept same like that. A nectar, a ambrosia is dropping from the top of the head, and that is going on the down. And they have the khichdi, same like khichdi. We have khichdi mudra. They also have the same concept in Qigong. Qigong practice is also a very advanced practice, but nowadays Qigong practitioners are very less in China, because it is completely, not completely, but partially banned in China. So you cannot find easily the Qigong, real Qigong practitioner. Maybe people know a bit and they are teaching there, but you cannot find the Qigong practitioner. So in this way, you can see that whenever they are talking about the
Yatendra ji, you're muted.
now.
Yeah, now.
So they have this concept in Qigong, because I mentioned you that Qigong practitioners are very less in China. The more authentic one, you cannot find them because it was banned in China, partially banned in China. So nowadays, very few practitioners, they are not openly doing the Qigong practices and even not teaching their Qigong practices. But you can see that their concept of this meridians is same like the Indian system of Hatha Yoga or yoga, and at the same time they are also doing the practice khichdi, not speaking khichdi, but also turning the tongue to the palate and touching there and meditating and trying to imagine that the ambrosia which is dropping from the head, top of the head, we are trying to receive it. It should not go on down and burn in the fire, and it should not be misused. In this way, they have description.
Okay, interesting. So one more question from Anuradha ji is, say in the Upanishadic literature, we have some very bold declarations in terms like of Aham Brahmasmi, that I am one with the highest, I am the supreme, or Tattvamasi, Amritasya Putraha, this kind of very, which takes a leap into a different dimension of consciousness. Do you find similar kind of expressions in the Chinese tradition?
I I don't think so, because as I told you that they are more uh, towards outside, not going that much searching their self. And only one concept which I found, that is Tianren Kai, which I have explained here. Tianren Kai means that we, the being of on this planet, can be divine. Cannot means not divine, but can be join the heaven. Can join the heaven. So not divine means we can say Tianren Kai means the people those are living beyond this planet, and we are living here, so we can join them, we can make ourselves to that height. And my idea is here because whenever I was communicating with them on this concept, I was thinking that they are talking about the consciousness, but actually they are not talking about consciousness. They are saying that we can lift ourselves to the word, beyond this word we can lift ourselves. And sometimes they are speaking in this way because this analect can be defined into many ways. So they are speaking in this way also, that we can lift ourselves and we can join the ultimate consciousness. In this way they are also defining, but this concept is not that much strong as much as we are finding the strong statements in our literature, in our Upanishadic literature.
Okay, last two questions. This is from Dilan, a friend from a Chinese friend from Singapore, who is asking, what are your thoughts on in yoga? Because that is becoming very popular
Yeah.
today. Is it somewhat bringing of the two traditions and the practices together? How do you see it? How do you explain that?
Actually, this is just like I should not speak here that much clearly, but
Okay.
actually, this is just like that they are developing some kind of practices, and they are trying to speak or trying to prove it from the yogic point of view. But actually, yin or yang practices are still there. Means the development of these practices are still in Huangdi Nechin. There are two books actually. One book is lost there. They are saying Huangdi Nechin and Huangdi Weichin. Means Weichin is talking about the external medicine or external part of practices. And Nechin means that is, Qing means sutra, is kind of brief statements. So they are talking about some internal practices and also external practices. So Huangdi Nechin internal practice. Wangdi, Weichin, external practices. So in this way, yin and yang, the concept is there, already there. Yin yang concept is already there. And the concept is more going when advanced. In yin, there is yang. In yang, there is yin. So that's why their concept, you can see black and
Yeah.
white. So sometimes they are saying there is black in the white and there is white in the black. So in this way, they are defining this concept. So actually, when speaking in yoga, yang yoga, this is just the just the manipulation of our yogic practices into their own own ideas of yin and yang. Otherwise,
Oh,
that's why whenever the students were communicating to me, asking me such kind of ideas, I was just speaking in this way that don't talk yin yang yoga. You can speak in your own practices. You can speak and proudly speak your practices in front of me. Don't mix it with yoga. In this way, you
okay.
cannot sell it better way. You can sell it in better way if you are projecting yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for that clarity. I mean, because today, in terms of branding, in terms of market requirements, everything gets mixed up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's good to have that clarity. Thank you very much. We have a request from many of our friends here who wants to know that you were referring to some books. So can you please type them out so that people can have some kind of connection? That is one. And other
okay.
one is how can people connect to you?
Hmm.
If you want to share your email ID or any other contact details, if
Uh,
they have any queries.
I think everyone is in the group, WhatsApp group, no?
Yeah.
So I will share. Okay, I will share to you. Then all those details can be shared on the group also.
Okay, so you'll share with me some a list of some books,
List of some books.
material which people can refer to, and also how they can contact you. Hmm.
But I will suggest you because I will suggest to all because as I know Vinayji is a very a good Sanskrit scholar and he learned it from traditional way. Sanskrit you learn from the traditional way. So the same thing which we are speaking to others, that when you are going to get some information from the secondary sources, then that secondary source is not that much authentic as it is from the primary source, if you are getting it. Same like that nowadays when we are talking about the yoga sutra or yoga philosophy or whatever Vedanta philosophy, Upanishadic philosophy and tantric philosophy, so I always recommend that we should go through the original scriptures, the
Sure.
primary source that is written in Sanskrit. If you are really a seeker, you should learn Sanskrit first and then go through that. And then you can get the proper knowledge, proper understanding. But if you are going through a material which is written or translated, then maybe you may go in the direction of a translator or the editor of that book. So this
It's
is necessary. I will
a care that
recommend some books,
every reader
but
has to
whenever
follow.
I,
No, I was just saying
yeah,
that is the
and
care that everyone has to.
another, yeah, yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
And another thing is that I also learn from the people, and in this much long time, I tried to get it from the original speakers and tried to get it from the Chinese also. I learned that much Chinese for that. That okay, I want to learn it. I want to also write it. So in some manner, I can write it. I can assume it. I can get that feeling. And then I found that oh, it is totally different than the translation. The translation which I'm getting, English translation, it is totally different. When I was living with them, when I was practicing with them, it's totally different. So that's why I will suggest the books. I will
Yes.
suggest
So
some.
what we could do is we have a page dedicated to you on our website for this
Okay,
event. So I
okay,
can add all these details there.
okay, okay.
I'd
That,
also would
that
like
will
to
be
bring it to the notice of our participants that on indicayoga.com, that is www.indicayoga.com, you can have the details of all, you can see the details of all our past events. And this event comes up prominently on the website And if you click in, you will go into a page which has the details of today's session and also about the speaker. Whatever details Dr. Yatendra ji will be sharing with us, we will be putting forth there so that you can access them, and you'll be able to reach out to him through the contact that he shares there, and also the references to books and other sources. Yes, Yatendra ji. So one last question. With that, we will conclude.
Yeah.
Uh, do they still have the places like Gurukulams that you were mentioning earlier, the temples, where people from outside can go, stay, learn, and seek knowledge?
Yeah, definitely. They have. Many places are there, but the problem is this, that if this is the political and some political problem, that if we Indians or some foreigners want to learn the Taoist practices, then it is quite difficult, that
Okay,
we cannot go through those traditional approaches in academic manner. We can go, just like I was working there, then I was associating with many people there, and then in this way I was connecting with them. But if it is just like that, if we are trying in academic manner, then I think it is not possible, because they are very serious about this issue, that they are not allowing the people to learn all these things academically.
okay.
um,
Hmm. So, thank you very much, Yatendra ji, for bringing light to a subject which is so close yet so far.
yeah.
Like compared to even geographical locations, India is so close to China, yet there seems to be a world in between, which we need to actually cross over to make the traditions, the civilizations meet once again in the backdrop of the wisdom that they shared and that they gave to the world for hundreds of years. So in that context, your sharings were very valuable. So thank you very much once again for your time and for all the insights that you shared. And I also would like to thank all our participants. I would like to apologize. I understand there were some difficulties in logging in the beginning. Hope you were able to overcome it and join here. So thank you very much for joining us and being with us for this session. And we look forward to continue this journey along in this what we call what we have started as integral well-being series. So this will be a series of talks from experts who will be bringing in multitude of perspectives around well-being from the yogic and related perspectives. So thank you very much once again. And I would love to again once again mention that all these sessions, this particular session, including this session, will be available on Indica Yoga YouTube channel. Our previous series, one is the Global Festival series. Before that, we had Lockdown Reflection series. And before that, we had Philosophy and Praxis conference. So all the talks from excellent speakers are available. Global Festival has about 124 videos of nearly 1 hour, 15 minutes to 3 hours. And we have had the best of the speakers from the yoga community from across the world who had shared their wisdom. So all this resource material is available for free. So please make use of it. This video will also be edited shortly and will be made available on Indica Yoga YouTube channel and on Indica Yoga website. So with this, I now would like to thank everyone and yeah, looking forward to staying with you all and continuing this journey, this collective journey together. Namaste and Dhanyavad. Thank you, Yatendra ji.
Thank you very much.